Hello, friends. Welcome to Spike Week. I'm Erik Beimfohr, and on today's show, it's the last one. Week 3 of the NFL preseason, a final recap here today. We're going to go game by game and break down all of the most relevant fantasy football news from the preseason, particularly week 3. We will also, because it is cut down day and cuts are happening as we speak, we will try to live in real time react to as much of the NFL cut day news as we can. And of course, because this is Spike Week and that's what we do, we'll draft a team at the end. Let's do it. GM Charles, GM, of course, to everyone out there. Good morning. I always struggle to say if it's a wonderful day on cut day, because a lot of people are going to lose their dreams in the NFL circles. And quite frankly, I lost my dream last night. If you were able to join, I did an impromptu DraftKings $555 draft in which I was building an absolute monster of a team and accidentally autoed Darren Waller. So apparently we have $555 on Darren Waller now. And that is that. So we're going to try to bounce back. Griffey, enough. We're going to try to bounce back from a Darren Waller auto pick. And yes, it is cut down day, and Deontay Johnson has been has been cut from the Cleveland Browns. Whoever could have expected Deontay Johnson, the guy who has bounced around NFL team to NFL team and no one seemingly wanting him, cut by the Cleveland Browns. Happy cut day to all who celebrate. Cut day is in best ball world, in like regular fantasy football circles, like not that big of a deal, right? Even so, like dynasty, like super deep dynasty bros or something certainly care about cut down day. I'm not sure that your average casual fantasy football league, they probably haven't even drafted yet, so who cares? It's us. We're the sickos, as you see at the top of your screen. We are the sickos who care way too much about cut down day to make sure that our ancillary, right, our who's a good example of some, Brashard's, right? Brashard Smith, please tell me that this stuff from last week of the preseason was real and not you're not going to get cut today. Or maybe if someone's holding Eli Mitchell bags, you're praying to God that Eli Mitchell makes the team as the RB3. Super quickly, if you have not joined us before, as Kendrick says, if you could hit the like button on the way in, I do appreciate the kind words there. We've been grinding the news, and we will continue to do so for the upcoming Friday show of this week. Will be the final kind of news related show that we will do here, where we go team by team. And on Fridays, after going team by team, breaking down all of the most important news from training camp, we'll give away some free tickets. Shout out to our good friends over at Drafters. If you have not received your latest free tickets, that was probably on me. So that those should be coming. Those should be coming ASAP. The latest free ticket giveaway. But on Fridays, we will be spinning the wheel at the end of the show, and everyone who comments on one of our videos from this week, starting with last night's video, if you drop a comment for every video that you comment on, you'll be entered to win a free ticket on Friday. You do not have to be here for the Friday show, but you do have to drop a comment and, of course, a like on one of our videos or all of our videos. And the Drafters main event is certainly going to overlay, and they're giving away free tickets. We're giving away free tickets. Lots of ways to play over on Drafters. Let's go ahead and get into this news, because I'm sure there's going to be some things that pop up. I do want to make sure we get a draft in today, and there's a lot going on here, right, across the NFL. Let's start with some just general, these are not from the preseason games, but just some quick kind of general notes from around the league. In case you missed it, big week in Raider Nation. Jakobi Meyers has requested a trade. He is in the last year of his contract, and I assume has been trying to get an extension done with the Raiders, I would assume. And I'm assuming that hasn't gone very well in Jakobi Meyers' eyes. So is Jakobi Meyers going to get traded? Seems unlikely. I'm not sure that at this point in the season, someone like a Jakobi Meyers, who's a good real life NFL wide receiver, but certainly not like a total game changer of an NFL wide receiver. If someone's going to come swoop in and steal him away from the Raiders, I'm not currently acting on this. They did sign Amari Cooper. So if we're reading tea leaves and they drafted Jack Besh in the second round, who of course we'll get to in a little bit. They love Dante Thornton. They of course have Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. There are, we could read those tea leaves and say, well, this is all kind of aligning for they do want to get rid of Jakobi Meyers. But I think they wanted to get rid of Jakobi Meyers after the season. So I'm not sure that they care that Jakobi Meyers has requested a trade. This is just me riffing on kind of what I think is most likely. I think all of their signs point to the fact that, they probably weren't going to give Jakobi Meyers a big contract, nor do I think they should. So the fact that he wants out, we'll see. It's possible. I think it's possible, though most of the time when these things happen, nothing comes to fruition from that. As I mentioned, they did, of course, you see second bullet point, they did sign Amari Cooper, kind of the last man standing. I guess Gabe Davis is still out there, but the last man standing amongst, I guess, relevant veteran wide receivers. I can't do it with Amari Cooper. Like Amari Cooper couldn't do it with Josh Allen and the Bills needing him. They needed him bad. And he was terrible. I think it's just over for Amari Cooper. Certainly as a difference maker. Can Amari Cooper maybe be an NFL wide receiver for a team like the Raiders? Sure. Is he going to win us all the money in best ball or certainly in our fantasy football home leagues or something? No, I don't think that is the case. What could maybe win us money in our home leagues is a fallout from this in my shocked face when we got the news that Joe Mixon is going on injured reserve. If you've been following us here at Spike Week, shout out to Rob Coakley, got us out ahead of this Joe Mixon stuff and it being a lot more serious maybe than the public thought, and that a lot of this kind of them playing coy with Joe Mixon, not giving us updates, really not telling us anything, reevaluating closer to the season, all this kind of stuff, was that this was a pretty bleak situation for Joe Mixon, and he does go on injured reserve with no real updates about. It doesn't sound like, oh, he's just going to go on injured reserve for 4 weeks and it's all good. So if you've been drafting Will Fuller, there's still time to stop. Did I just say Will Fuller? Rick got me in the. If you're drafting Will Fuller, there's still time to stop. That's never been more true. But also, if you're still drafting Joe Mixon, we got 10 days. We got 10 days left. Let's go ahead and pump the brakes on the Joe Mixon stuff. We'll get to what it possibly means for the Houston backfield in a little bit. Jawan Jennings is one of the weirder situations, I think, that we've seen in recent memory. Jawan also wants a contract extension. He also sort of Clipper Nation says, you could convince me that Joe Mixon is missing a foot at this point with how little we know about what's going on there. I think it's bad. I think it's very bad. There's just, we've done this before, so I won't rehash it too deeply. We like any other situation, they at least tell us what's going on, somewhat of what's going on. This is the injury. Here's about what we're thinking. Even if it's like the Darnell Mooney stuff is getting worrisome, but it's at least they're saying they keep saying we feel good. We'll get him back. He's week to week, whatever. It's that's something. It's not as precise as we would hope, but it's something. The Joe Mixon stuff was basically just look away. Don't look over here. Right. It's we don't have anything to say. And so quit asking. Right. They went full Nick Saban. Why are you asking me about Joe Mixon? Quit asking. It's well, he's your starting running back. You made the playoffs last year. You won a playoff game. It seemed you brought in Nick Chubb. You got Dameon Pierce back. You drafted Woody Marks. It seems that you're hiding something here, Houston Texans. And they're just putting up a front of no updates, no nothing. And it's I think that probably means it's pretty bad, because if it wasn't that bad, you would probably say something or give us some information. speaking of some information, that's what I feel about the Juwan Jennings situation. I don't know really what's going on there. I don't know how anyone could really have any idea of what is going on with Juwan Jennings. There was a report from, I believe, a beat writer that speculated, right? This is pure speculation, but I'm sure everyone saw it. That like if the contract stuff doesn't get resolved for Juwan Jennings, because of course he wants an extension as well. He outperformed his contract last year. He wants to get paid. I get it. That he could be placed on injured reserve as they kind of wait out this, right? Of course, if you go on IR, you can come back after 4 games. Kyle Shanahan came out and said, like, no, he's healthy. Now, Kyle Shanahan, how trustworthy is he, right? We're hovering, we're going full gladiator of hovering our thumb for a minute on how trustworthy is Kyle Shanahan. He says Juwan Jennings is healthy. They seem to think they're going to get him ready for week 1. I don't know. It's very conflicting. I'm going to be closely monitoring this situation because does Juwan want to play? Does he still want the contract? Is he healthy? Is he not? I don't know, and I'm not sure how anyone can reasonably feel can feel reasonably confident in at all one way or the other. But I do lean more towards, right, like Kyle Shanahan could be lying, but also he doesn't have a lot of incentive other than to try to get Juwan out there, which we knew that was his incentive all along. Like lying that Juwan is fine if he's not, that also, like, it could incentivize Juwan to play or motivate him to play, but also it could piss him off. So that would be a little bit foolish. If Juwan is actually hurt and Kyle Shanahan is out there saying he's not, that would be bad. Is it possible? Sure, but I'm just going to kind of somewhat, right, trust but verify is my general idea with Kyle Shanahan. Like, I'm trusting you, buddy, but like, let's keep really close tabs on this whole situation. Adam Thielen, most notably, I believe it was during the Friday show, a lot more of the smoke around Adam Thielen being traded to the Minnesota Vikings. If you're not up to speed, the Minnesota Vikings wide receiver situation to start the year is not great. Jordan Addison is suspended for the first 3 games. Jalen Naylor is injured and out with a hand injury, I believe. It does not seem that Ty Felton is quite ready to play, so it's probably going to be the old Lucky Jackson, wide receiver 2 for the Minnesota Vikings to start the year. And I don't think that that's what they want in Minnesota. So they've been discussing a trade for Adam Thielen to bring him back to Minnesota, but they cannot seem to agree on the compensation for that. I would imagine that Minnesota is saying, you're not going to use this guy. He's old. He doesn't fit your plans. We're not giving you much for him. And I would guess that Carolina is saying, well, it sure seems like you need this guy. So maybe give us pony up a little bit more. So they're not particularly close on trade talks. We'll see what comes from that. Raiders all over the news in the last 24 hours. The Las Vegas Raiders traded a 6th-round pick, I believe, for Kenny Pickett, 5th or 6th. Not super relevant, but if you are invested into the Cleveland Browns, quarterback sitch certainly clears out a body from there. A tough game from Shedeur Sanders in week 3 of the preseason. Audric Estime was cut, pour one out for our 2024 last year, having sizable bags of Audric Estime, and boy, oh boy, did that not go very well, and he has officially been cut. I would imagine he latches on somewhere, but we'll see. Phil Maffa, speaking of somewhere that running backs could latch on, in Dallas, Phil Maffa has gone to the injured reserve. Though I put this on here, it seems like, why the hell are you mentioning Phil Maffa? Well, it was getting just as much hype as almost anyone that means that everyone was getting hype in the Dallas Cowboys backfield. But I just thought it was notable that they talked about they're planning on bringing him back. In terms of when he's done with his IR stint, they'll bring him back this season. I thought that was a little surprising. He was a 7th-round pick, of course, this year at running back. Just notable that, like, oh boy, what does that mean? Are they actually going to bring Phil Maffa back? I don't know. But the fact that they put that out there was interesting. You would think that would help them clear up some of their running back issues, but maybe they think Phil Maffa is part of the solution to their running back issues. Terry McLaurin also, of course, probably burying the lead, but nonetheless signs an extension. If you've been drafting Terry, One just super quick thing on that. I know that it will feel tempting to just like catapult Terry McLaurin back up to where he was in drafts before. What I would say is, one, I think Terry McLaurin was a little bit overpriced in like that third, closer to the 2-3 turn, middle of the third round, like maybe a little bit overpriced at that cost before, which is where he was going. So the fall, I think, was kind of an appropriate course correction on his ADP, in my opinion, for Terry McLaurin. And then this isn't, I'll often use this phrasing because I think it hits home for all of us, at least from my generation. But like, this isn't Madden. When you don't practice right? We saw this with Brandon Ayuk. I'm not trying to pattern match one exact scenario last year where it went really poorly. I don't think that's going to happen with Terry McLaurin. He's a good football player. I think he's a completely solid pick right now where he's going. But when you miss all of training camp, you rush back to get ready for week 1. There is just a little bit of added risk that does come in. So we shouldn't just say, oh, CP signed, it's all good, no problems, because that's mostly true, but not entirely true. So there's just a hint of added risk, right? Like whatever percentage points, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a football injury expert. I'm not any of that. And it's not just injuries, right? Rust, whatever. Brandon Ayuk wasn't very good before he came back, before he got hurt last year either. So just something to keep in mind as it pertains to these guys who, the Juwan Jennings as well, who have just not been practicing for the entire summer, essentially. A little bit of added risk. Well, let's touch on this when we get down to the Bears running backs, but it's a good question. Since Terry was a hold in, will he be football ready week 1? I would assume that so it's impossible for us to know. I don't know. Like the hold in is like he's showing up, but he's not participating. So he's not staying in shape unless he's doing work on the side. Maybe he is. I'm not there. I'm not his trainer. I'm not in the building, what have you. But, he's certainly not playing in all of their like scrimmages and like there is just not trying to pull this card frequently, but if you've played football before, like you can work your ass off all summer and still like that first game or that first scrimmage or that first like full go, full pads, full hit, full contact, everything is a different beast. You just can't, you have to do it for your body to get used to it. Like I was in incredible shape, right? Could run for days and days and days and no fat on my body and worked out like crazy and out in the 110-degree heat and all the bullshit cliches, right? And then you show up to that first day of like full padded practice, full go, and it is just a different monster. Like you're dead. You're sore as hell the next day. So there is going to be a process of getting up to speed, I think, for Terry McLaurin. Everybody is game ready until they get knocked in the teeth. It's just a different beast, man. Like you can do all this stuff and then you're having to tackle guys or get tackled on every single play. And it's just a different deal. Let's catch up on some of the stuff. Joe says, Finn signed free agent Rasul Douglas. Do you think he has anything left in the tank? Miami is desperate at corner. No, I do not think he has anything left in the tank. And yes, they are desperate at corner. And this reeks of desperation, signing kind of a washed guy who no one in the NFL particularly wanted at corner. That's the most Miami Dolphins ass move of all time, along with my new favorite pick apparently in drafts, Darren Waller, along with a litany of moves that they have made to kick the can down the road and try to create speaking of Madden, Mike McDaniel running a Madden franchise and not a real life NFL franchise. Trying to paper mache over some of their holes on the defensive side of the football, and I don't think it's going to work. Amen. Darren Waller for MVP. Hey, if I win $1 million because I'm wrong about Darren Waller, and I accidentally took him, we'll take it. Better to be lucky than good, for sure. Definitely a very Miami move. It's seriously the most Dolphins move of all time. Darren Waller and Rasul Douglas is hilarious. Could we talk about Deontay Johnson? I think people underestimated how much of a shithead he is, or the shithead you have to be for a team to cut you and voluntarily give up a 4th-round compensatory pick. Yeah. Not much I don't have much to add. I agree with you, D. Owens. I think Deontay Johnson made his bed last year, and that was it. That was pretty much the end of the career, I think. Certainly possible he could have come in and changed his mindset and become a better person in 4 months, 6 months, what have you. But generally, I don't imagine that is a very likely scenario. And he showed his true colors last year. And I think shout out to Mike Tomlin for, managing that, just like he managed Antonio Brown and Chase Claypool and Le'Veon Bell and Juju doing TikTok dances and Big Ben being a bad person and on and on and on. Impressive by Mike Tomlin to keep that track on the trains, to keep that train on the tracks for so many years with all the headaches that he has been dealing with. Any idea on suitors for Jakobi Meyers? Yeah, so Charles brings up if the Minnesota stuff falls through on Adam Thielen, I would assume that they are more interested in Adam Thielen because he'll be cheaper and because they can bring him in right away. He knows the offense from KOC, and they've obviously worked together and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's plenty of teams that could use a solid wide receiver. I don't have a great take on. I mean, I would say San Francisco. They just traded for Sky Moore, and supposedly Juwan, is healthy. So I don't imagine that is one. I don't think that this team is going to do this, but Arizona absolutely could use an upgrade over Michael Wilson and Zay Jones. Atlanta with the Darnell Mooney stuff. Ray McLeod's been banged up in camp. I mean, they might be starting Casey Washington in week 1, which I don't like. It's possible Daryl Hodge and Casey Washington are running a lot of routes for the Falcons in week 1. So there's some suitors, I think, off the top of my head. Are they going to be willing to pay that price? That seems unlikely to me. Green Bay. I think Green Bay has so many wide receivers. They moved one of them to corner. Bo Melton moved to corner this offseason, and then they drafted Matthew Golden and Savion Williams. There's no Dobbs, Wicks, Golden. Christian Watson will be back later this year for the Green Bay Packers. I would be pretty stunned if the Packers made a move for a wide receiver. What week does Mike McDaniel get fired? What's their schedule? I should probably know this from the weeks 1 to 4 contest. What's their early season schedule look like in Miami? Let's see. Colts. Okay, let's say they lose to the Colts. Then they are at home against the Patriots. I'll still take the Patriots. Go to Buffalo, L. So the early season schedule is not bad, right? Jets, Carolina. I don't want to bet on the Dolphins to win any of these games. So Chargers, they do get the Browns, the Falcons. So there's plenty of winnable games. But if they don't win any of the winnable games, then I think they're in a lot of trouble. All right, let's go a little bit more rapid fire than I usually do, so we can hit some of the cut day stuff, so we can get into draft, etc. If you're piling in just now as we start to go game by game here, if you could hit the thumbs up button, that would be awesome. What percentage do you give it that Daboll says F it and names Dart the starter? Yeah, he didn't commit. Brian Daboll was asked about, is Jackson Dart going to be the backup? And he wouldn't commit to that. And so people are drawing Jackson Dart's had a great preseason. The problem was Russ played well too. So does he just rip the Band-Aid off and go with Jackson Dart from week 1? What percentage? Low. I would put very low. 5%. 5 out of 100 times he says, screw it, let's just do Jackson Dart. But that's not nothing. Something like that, I would say. Okay. All right. Let's start. We got 16 games to get through here. Let's see if we can't get through them by the top of the hour. Zamir White, notably, we're starting with Raiders, Cardinals. So first of all, we'll start at the Cardinals rest everyone. They continue to rest everyone. Nothing really notable on the Cardinal side. But of course, this is like the goddamn Raiders show. Even Darren Waller with his Raiders history getting mentioned here today. But up until this point, it had been Raheem Mostert operating as the RB2 in Vegas behind Ashton Genty. This week, that changed. Zamir White became the RB2 in this preseason game. Does that mean Zamir took over the job? Does it mean they wanted to see him? I don't know. But It'll be interesting to see what the Raiders do here on cutdown day. And heading into the season, I would not feel very comfortable anymore. There was like the old meme of one day of where I was like, I wonder if Mostert's in play here in the last round of drafts. And then you're like, no, nope, don't do it. Don't do it. So he may not even be the backup. Does he make the team? Who knows? The most Dolphins-ass thing that we're talking about would be Mostert gets cut by Vegas and the Dolphins sign Mostert, and he's like the starter week 1. He takes the first carry. That would be some Mike McDaniel shit right there. Brock Bowers also continued to set fantasy footballers' head on fire, hair on fire, whatever you want to call it, because yet again in this week, as the Raiders were playing with starters, Brock Bowers split time at tight end with Michael Mayer. The expectation is they will play. They played the most 12 personnel last year. Now it's a new coaching staff, but they played the most 12 personnel in the league last year. Michael Mayer's been having a phenomenal camp, and so they have been clearly making it a priority to get him on the field. But so far, it has been a lot more of removing Brock Bowers from the field in order to get Michael Mayer. They have been kind of splitting the snaps at tight end in 11 personnel. Of course, they both play in 12 personnel. Brock Bauer, something that Nate Yonke called out that I thought was really good from PFF, which, by the way, if you're not reading his recaps every single week, I kind of pull my information from all these places, Nate and 32B writers, right, and The Athletic and Coach Speak Index and different all that. I try to pull it all together to put it up into these notes. But Nate Yonke called out the fact that they haven't had like hardly any third downs on their drives, or like certainly not like third down pass attempts. So, they're not getting into now. We don't want to have a bunch of third downs for Brock Bowers to get on the field, but he did note that like there's potentially some context that comes into this when they are just lining up on first down and running the ball. Who really cares if Brock Bowers is on the field? But we do need him out there. I suspect it will be fine, and they're just playing coy a little bit, though. Chip Kelly is a bit of a madman. He's dare I say, Chip Kelly, Charlie Kelly's dad, fittingly might be a wild card, bitches, in this whole scenario. The Chip Kelly, Charlie Kelly parallels from a wild card perspective of keeping Brock Bowers, turning Brock Bowers into Dalton Kincaid would be quite the wild card move. And the names, they go together. I don't really think it's a thing, but it's funny to think about. Jack Besh, a second-round pick from the Raiders, also continues to run with the twos. Trey Tucker, Dante Thornton, and Jakobi Meyers, the starting wide receivers. We'll see if that remains the same if Jakobi Meyers wants out of Las Vegas. So dramatic. Well, we'll get to the Dolphins in just a second. Chargers versus the 49ers. Of course, the 49ers traded for Sky Moore from Kansas City. Forgive me if I don't think that moves the needle, but I get it would be fun to see a Sky Moore resurgence in San Francisco. I think it's a little better fit for him, though. I think he probably just stinks at football. Brian Robinson, Kyle Shanahan has come out in multiple different statements, quotes, press conferences, whatever we want to call it, and straight up called Brian Robinson the running back too. He doesn't ever mention Isaac Guerrero. Isaac Guerrero has supposedly been like practicing, like he came back from his injury, but I guess as we've gotten a little more information, he was like kind of rushing back because they just didn't have any more running backs after Patrick Taylor and Corey Kiner both got hurt. I'm not sure that Kyle Shanahan actually loves Isaac Guerrero. He seems to love Brian Robinson. So that's how when I adjusted the rankings yesterday morning, I made Brian Robinson in kind of our contingent value bet wide receiver range, right? After the Tyler Algiers of the world, but something like that for B-Rob. And I think he's like, honestly, a fine pick. Christian McCaffrey, not a picture of health. San Francisco 49ers situation is one we know we want running backs from. And, B-Rob is an unexciting general talent, but he also does have the profile to be able to consolidate a backfield if things, right, if chaos plays out in his favor. I think he's a totally fine mid to late round running back selection. On the Chargers side, supposedly Najee is ready for week 1. I'm not sure if Najee can see the schedule, like that we're only a week away from week 1, nonetheless see the holes to run through and the defenders, but I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. I did find it notable. Kamani Vidal everybody's favorite late round rookie running back from last season, appears to have made the team as the RB3. I think we kind of assumed him to be the RB3, but pretty locked in now. I think he did not play in the preseason game while kind of all the other depth options played in this game. He rested with all the most notable guys. Let's do Bills Bucks really quickly because it takes all of 2 seconds, and then we can get to the Ollie Gordon stuff. Basically, everyone rested for Bills and Bucks. But one individual player who I know some folks, I don't mean you guys, but like I've gotten questions about him over the summer, and I know he's not 0% drafted in drafts that played in this game, which is ominous given the fact that all the like notable contributors rested for the Bills was Elijah Moore. So I think he might get cut today. We'll see. He's definitely competing with like a Tyrell Shavers and oh my gosh, I start talking about Elijah Moore and I get an allergy attack. I drafted him so many times over the years with absolutely not just donating every cent I've ever put onto Elijah Moore in fantasy football. We start talking about him and my nose starts tingling. You know what I mean? All right, Jags Dolphins. So the question was, if I hypothetically had 0 Ollie Gordon shares, am I dead? And the answer is, of course not. First of all, let's actually start here. What they're saying is that Achane should be fine for week 1. It is a calf injury, which can always, of course, be tricky, right? Typical caveats to the calf injury. I don't think that I'm not overly concerned with Achane. They're telling us they're not that concerned with Achane's week 1 availability, though I think it's pretty clear now, obviously, that Jalen Wright being out for a while, they don't think he's going to need surgery just yet. And Mike McDaniel also did say, I don't see an extended absence, but again, that is very, very vague. And what does extended mean? He's definitely going to be out. They've confirmed he's hurt for a while. What does that mean? Does that mean like he's back in like week 3 or week 8? Shrug. Your guess is as good as mine. And so Ollie Gordon is sort of the last man standing, and he probably earned this job anyway by outperforming Jalen Wright. And of course, with Alexander Mattison going down in their first preseason game, they really just don't have anybody else. I would not be surprised if they don't bring someone in here looking for a Raheem Mostert getting cut. They're looking at I don't know that Audric Estime fits the scheme, right? But they're waiting on cut day today to see what happens in other backfields, would be my guess. Ollie Gordon is a great pick. I've been trying to rectify a little bit of my lack of Ollie Gordon bags of late. I notably took him on the 555 team that also took goddamn Darren Waller on it last night, but I think he's a pretty good pick, though. I just don't think it's like ever over for not having this guy. He's not gonna, like, the odds that any of these like later round running backs are like the guy you had to have. It's just so unlikely. So I think you're gonna be all right. Speaking of Darren Waller, seems that there are no setbacks for Waller, and he's in good shape. And I believe McDaniel said something about he's excited. He's excited to see him out there. Like I fucking am sure he's excited to see him out there. He hasn't goddamn seen him yet. They signed him months ago, literally. Like I remember talking about this months ago when he first signed, and everybody was, oh no, Jonnu's gone, Darren Waller. We got to take him at pick 150, and then he has not practiced basically since then. So he is, I guess, doing better now. So shout out to Massive Audio says we talk about Jakobi Meyers here. I had an awesome draft going. You can watch. I streamed it last night, so it's here on the channel. If you subscribe, of course, blah blah blah, you can get notified when I go live or we go live. I'm feeling great. Got a good draft going. And talking about Jakobi Meyers, because of course Jakobi Meyers had requested the trade before the show. People are asking about him, et cetera, et cetera. So we're just talking about it, and then people keep making picks. It comes back around to me, and I hadn't been paying attention to like who had gone off the board. I knew I just wanted like some kind of wide receiver there, and there's just this huge assortment of late round wide receivers that I really like. And then I get on the clock, and I'm like, okay, Troy Franklin gone. Okay, Pat Bryant gone. whatever, De'Ami Brown gone, Torrey Horton gone, whatever, gone. Like everybody is gone, and I'm like, oh shit. And so then I just quickly search like Kayshon Boutte, and I like tried to click Kayshon Boutte, and we timed out on Darren Waller. So that was a fun one. Malik Washington, who I should have probably just selected on that team. I would much rather have Malik Washington than Darren Waller on the team. And a really good preseason, and maybe it's post-hype sleeper time for Malik this year. Looks like a key contributor, especially because Tyreek Hill is still out with his oblique injury. No real updates on this Tyreek Hill, the man of mystery this offseason. I have no idea what's going on. I just continue to assume it's fine for week 1, but I feel like the Dolphins are the it's fine meme. The house is burning down around us. Mike McDaniel keeps saying everything is fine, but I'm not sure that it's fine. I'm not sure that any of this is fine. Terrible offensive line. All the running backs are hurt. Tyreek is hurt. You're counting on Darren Waller. This doesn't seem good. Dolphins continue to be the greatest house of cards, I think, in the NFL, and that's why Mike McDaniel's the favorite to get fired first. Jags, on the Jags side, the only real notable thing is they rested everyone. Technically, LeQuint Allen dressed for the game, but I think it was an emergency. He did not play. They only had 2 other running backs, so I imagine you just like LeQuint, just in case something happens, we need a running back to play in case they both get hurt. But it looks like we're going to get this 4 running back mess. One of them is going to be inactive on game days. Who knows? I would assume it's down to LeQuint and Tootin as active and inactive on game days. We'll see how that shakes out. Yeah, Deadhead says, Mixon to IR. How could anyone have ever guessed? Amen. Greg Dulcich released by the Giants. Low-key bullish for Theo. If Greg Dulcich mattered for Theo Johnson, I don't think you want Theo Johnson. Let's see. Ouch. I have a few Waller shares I was excited about the hour after the trade. Yeah. It's always easy when news breaks to get ourselves excited. Lil Ixel. I said Lil Ixel like a rapper, like Lil Wayne. Malachi Corley getting released. Geez. I liked Malachi Corley. Shout out to me. Whoops. Got that one wrong. Their track record on Jets wide receivers. It's a tough scene. They just hyped him up about making a bunch of plays the other day, I think, in training camp, which tells you everything you need to know about training camp hype, that a few days before the guy got cut, they were talking about how he's making plays in camp. Shout out Christopher, 45% Theo Johnson. I think Theo is a totally fine play. I'll take Harold Fannin to your Theo Johnson, but I think Theo is a good pick himself. You can draft them together on the same team. Joe says, new viewer and subscriber, having played Division II ball a million years ago, I know enough to realize how little I know. So I appreciate your style and the solid take, Chef. I much appreciate that. That's a wonderful comment. I really appreciate that. And that's the goal. We try to bring our knowledge, right, and our takes and everything together, but also accept the fact that like we can talk about this, and I do, until our ears bleed, eyes bleed. I keep getting my wires are all crossed. You can tell I've been talking about this shit too much. We can talk about this until the cows come home. And at the end of the day, we're going to look back in week 17, and the shit that won all these tournaments is just where we're so wrong. But like, not even because we were wrong. Like last year, I ended up making Jordan Mason like one of my highest owned players. I think that was good process, but it didn't work out, right? Jordan Mason had a great first month or whatever, and then vanished into injury. The old San Francisco morgue of skill player injuries. Was that right or wrong? I don't know. I think it was right, but it ended up being wrong. And like, there's just so much of that I think what we should just try to do is diagnose the best we can, put our chips in on the things that the news and, of course, the, prospect profiles, player profiles, try to put our chips in on the stuff that we think is the most plus EV. And I think this time of year, a lot of the news related stuff can be the most plus EV. Oftentimes the Ollie Gordons of the world, the Chris Rodriguez's of the world, the Bills of the world, those guys, like we sit here and argue, right, about Bill versus Austin Eckler, and Javonte versus Miles Sanders versus Jaden Blue versus Phil Maffa versus Hunter Lepke versus Deuce Vaughn versus Kavonte Turpin. And it, like, at the end of the day, like, it really just doesn't matter. And so What can matter is like this news popped up. It could be something. It of course could be nothing. But someone like a Chris Rodriguez is like really lowly drafted in say Best Ball Mania, and it's like here's the information. Do with it what you please. But our fantasy football stuff, we try to treat it like a ball knowing contest, and ultimately, it's not really a ball knowing contest, right? It's kind of a game theory contest, and so using as much ball knowing skill as we have and combining it with the game theory angle, I think is how we can win at this, specifically in the best ball streets, but also in your just like your home leagues and stuff. Like finding these guys, finding the Ollie Gordons, finding the Chris Rodriguez's, finding the is it Zamir White? I don't know. We'll get to it in just a second. Is it Chris Brooks? Right, the segue into Seahawks Packers. Marshawn Lloyd been hurt and hurt again. Right, hamstring. Marshawn Lloyd's hamstrings made of bubblegum and pixie sticks, and he's hurt again. And my assumption, because this is what it was last year, was Emmanuel Wilson would step in. He, of course, has been out himself. He returned. And the expectation, I think, by at least a decent amount of us, was Emmanuel Wilson would be the running back 2 behind Josh Jacobs. That was not the case in the preseason. Is this sticky? I don't know. But Chris Brooks might just be the backup to Josh Jacobs, who goes in the 3rd round, who's like a workhorse running back on a good Packers offense and has been 0% drafted all summer. That's the kind of situation where I'm like, look, I don't know how this plays out. I don't know who's better between Brooks and Emmanuel Wilson. We can get our hand in the dirt all we want, but I know that this guy's he was drafted before yesterday. He's drafted like less than 10 total times in the drafters main event. Chris Brooks was. What if Josh Jacobs gets hurt? Would you like to be one of the 10 teams with the Packers lead back in the 20th round? It's like, sometimes we have to set aside our egos and our ball knowing egos specifically. Let's see. Any updates on Laporta's health? Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. They're just being cautious with Sam Laporta. Good with him. Don't sweat him. Broncos, Torrey Horton, of course, did not play, but they did say they expect him to practice in full this week for Torrey Horton. So if you have your Torrey Horton bags like I do, don't sweat. And if you want to buy a little dip we're getting on Horton, I think that's reasonable. Broncos Saints, this one's a doozy. There's a lot going on with both of these teams. Let's start on the Saints side. They played their starters, A, because I think they wanted to play their starters with new head coach Kellen Moore, but B, to see who the starting quarterback was going to be between Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck. And in this game, another change similar to the Mostert Zamir thing. Brandon Cooks operated as the wide receiver 3. Of course, Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed 1 and 2. And then when they went to 11 personnel, Brandon Cooks came in and Chris Olave kicked inside to the slot. Up to this point, that had been Cedric Wilson. Now we're working with micro samples, but Cedric Wilson, because he's kind of more of a slot guy, had been playing in the slot. Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed stay on the outside in 11 personnel. However, that changed here to Brandon Cooks. The problem is that they just traded a 4th and 7th round pick for Devon Vele, who is a slot receiver. He has played the majority of his snaps in the slot, and I don't think you give up that kind of draft capital in order to let him sit on the bench behind Brandon Cooks. So my expectation continues to be Olave and Shaheed in 2 wide receiver sets, and Devon Vele, once he gets up to speed. Of course, he did not play in this game. He just got traded to the Saints. Devon Vele will come in and play in the slot, mostly in the slot. He can move around a little bit, and I think it gives him some flexibility with Vele, Shaheed, and Olave. If Spencer Rattler cannot suck, I think that there's some juice in the offense for fantasy purposes. They're not going to win games, but Kamara and here, Kendre Miller has cemented himself as the running back 2, even playing on some passing downs. Cam Akers had been playing on 3rd downs up to this point of the season, with Kendre kind of the 1st and 2nd down running back. But then, of course, they cut Cam Akers yesterday. So that writing was probably on the wall because Kendre just took over sort of the RB2 role. There is some, if they can score some points, there is some juice to be had in the backfield alongside Kamara and Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Devon Vele, Juwan Johnson. These guys are very cheap. And if the offense is a little better than we think that it is with Kellen Moore at the helm, I think that there's some real fantasy goodness here in the Saints. I quite like the price on Chris Olave, especially on DraftKings, as well as Rashid Shaheed. So Devin Neal must be trash. I will say, yeah, I'm not sure that Devin Neal is good, but he was hurt. He hamstring as well for Devin Neal. He missed extended time. He is back at practice, but I think the kind of lost time lost him the opportunity to take that RB2 role. On the Broncos side, RJ Harvey, I think I've talked about this too. I think there's a slight, sometimes you'll hear a slight misconception about what the Broncos backfield really is and what RJ Harvey is. You'll hear people be like, well, he's going to be the Kamara and Dobbins is going to be the Ingram or Chris Ivory or Latavius Murray or whatever. I'm like, no, RJ Harvey is not really that kind of a passing down player. He's very explosive, and I think you want to throw him the ball some, but when you throw him the ball, it'll probably be on first and second down. He's come out on third downs in the preseason, and he's operated as an early down rusher, and that's fine. We ain't mad about that. Be the early down rusher in the Sean Payton offense. Get the touchdowns. Get the high value touches that aren't third down. Where I'm totally fine with that. Take on, get some screen game work on early downs. I don't think RJ Harvey is just going to take over the third down role. I do think J.K. Dobbins operates there to start the season, and then they're in some form of a split. But of course, we want RJ Harvey's explosion and upside as a runner to take over more of the backfield over the course of the season. In the wide receiver room, without Devon Vele, Pat Bryant did not see any change in his role. That does not mean he will not see a change in the role over the course of the season. But Courtland Sutton, Marvin Mims, and Troy Franklin were the starting wide receivers in 3 wide receiver sets for the Broncos. Sutton is Sutton. I don't think removing Devon Vele matters for Courtland Sutton. He is what he is. If you like him at his price, you still like him. If you didn't like him at his price, it doesn't change anything. But Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin, for me, become priority targets here. And Pat Bryant, it's still a better run out for Pat Bryant. I have drafted some. But Franklin and Mims, really big priorities without Vele because they've now lost that like murkiness of how much are they really going to play, right? Because we know Vele was going to play. That's a lot of bullishness. The concerning part on the Broncos side is that, speaking of like splitting snaps, I think Evan Ingram is a lot more of that Dalton Kincaid and whatever this preseason Brock Bowers role has been than we probably care to admit. Adam Troutman is a very good blocker, and it appears as though they're not going to play a whole ton of 12 personnel, and Evan Ingram is sort of the receiving tight end and joker or whatever bullshit, Sean Payton wants to dream up for Evan Ingram. So I dabbled in a couple of Evan Ingram shares after the Vele trade, and I'm going to go ahead and back on out of that situation. Move on from, big Evan Ingram fan or big Adam Troutman fan? Adam Troutman fan, Lazaro is. Joe says he just traded Pearsall, Bill, Caleb, and Loveland for, wow. I assume 1 quarterback league, so who really cares about the quarterbacks? But Bill and Caleb, let's just assume Caleb Nix is the same, they're pretty much the same value, which they're probably close enough. So you took Pearsall, Bill, and Loveland for Kittle. That's it. You paid a price. I mean, I love me some George Kittle, but you definitely paid a price to get him. On the flip side of the Evan Ingram thing, Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill on the Saints continue to be on PUP with no activation in sight. And Juwan Johnson has been basically running all the routes with the starters. So just something to think about there in New Orleans. The Houston Texans versus the Detroit Lions, not a ton. But Isaac Tesla continues to play well. He's skyrocketing up boards, and I get it. But I don't think anything about a role has really changed. We discussed how he's probably going to be active on game days for special teams, which is good. I think this preseason has been great for Isaac Tesla, but I don't think our expectation should be him like playing to start the year. Nick Chubb and Dameon Pierce bearing the lead continue to operate as the starters without Joe Mixon. Dameon Pierce basically played all of the snaps with the ones in this game. Nick Chubb sat rested. And the reports from practice are basically that it is a Chubb, Dameon Pierce backfield. Of course, so far it has been Dare Ogunbowale on third downs. Woody Marks has not taken that role in the preseason as of yet. What does that mean? Again, I don't think it means, it's certainly not over for Woody Marks, but he hasn't like taken command of any part of this backfield, including passing downs. Colts Bengals, really nothing. Everybody rests in this game, and Charlie Jones and Mitchell Tinsley even rested themselves. Who didn't rest was Jermaine Burton. So I still think Jermaine Burton's going to make the team as wide receiver 6, but he's wide receiver 6. So, that doesn't mean he won't like mix in for some plays here or there, but the hope that I had early in the summer, like maybe this will be, again, kind of the post-type sleeper thing for Jermaine Burton, that has not played itself out this summer. Rams, Browns. The folks asked about Harold Fannin before. Harold Fannin is on the thumbnail, and our Lord and Savior, Harold Fannin, I did draft him last night. So, we're playing with 19 guys. We're going to take down the monster millionaire with 19 guys, Harold Fannin being one of them. I've talked about this a lot. I think there's also a misconception about what Harold Fannin is. People keep calling him the tight end 2 in Cleveland. And while that is sort of true, again, this isn't Madden. He's also kind of the wide receiver 3 and the tight end 2 and a weapon that they move around. He's queen on the chessboard is a little bit hyperbolic because, he's probably not the single most powerful piece on the chessboard, though maybe he is. But they've been moving him around in that way, right? The way the queen moves around the chessboard. They've been using him in a variety of different ways. In fact, on his touchdown, he lined up as a boundary wide receiver, ran a quick slant against a defensive back and scored a touchdown near the goal line. So the role is exactly what we hoped for Harold Fannin. If you're worried about the fact that he's labeled as a tight end 2, don't be worried. The fact that they really don't have a wide receiver 3, it's like they cut Deontay Johnson. It's like Jamari Thrash and Caden Davis and some of these other losers down the depth chart for the Browns. This is all good things for Harold Fannin. The Quinshon Judkins drama has also been very good thing for Dylan Sampson. If we anointed Jerome Ford, the air quotes starter, without Quinshon Judkins, that was a mistake. Dylan Sampson got the start at running back. Now, Jerome Ford is going to work in plenty. But in terms of pass catching and stuff, Dylan Sampson caught a nice pass. It's not just like Jerome Ford is doing, all the veteran passing down stuff. Dylan Sampson is this is real. I still can't believe the Dylan Sampson price. The upside here, we have the potential to have the Cleveland Browns starting running back, who was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year last year, a rookie running back, which means, the ups, like we were paying more for this than Cam Scadaboo on the Giants. We were paying significantly more for him in a very similar situation. The Browns offensively have scored a lot of fantasy points over the years, even when they've been bad, when they were terrible last year. Is Quinshon Judkins even going to play for the Cleveland Browns this year? We're 10 days away from the season. He's unsigned and he has not participated in training camp. He might get suspended. This might just be a redshirt year. I don't understand the Dylan Sampson price, but he's going to end up one of my highest owned players. I don't think anyone can pass Will Shipley at this point, but we might be trying with Dylan Sampson. Draft him in your dynasty leagues. Draft him in your home leagues. You can fun fact, they play the Bengals in week 1. You want to draft a 0 running back team and get instant running back production from a cheap rookie? Dylan Sampson plays the Cincinnati Bengals in week 1. Quinshon Judkins is not going to be playing in that game, and he's the starting running back for the Cleveland Browns against the worst defense on planet Earth. Draft Dylan Sampson. On the Rams side, they continue to, as they do, rest everyone, but it's specifically notable because of who they've rested. And it's all the key guys, but also Tutu Atwell has not played in this preseason. Neither has Jordan Whittington. So 4 different wide receivers, all of the top 4 wide receivers for the Rams have not played in this preseason. Why is that notable? Because that's what McVay does for key contributors. If you're going to be a key contributor on this team, he does not play you in the preseason. That means this isn't just a slam dunk Tutu out. No, Tutu is a key contributor, but this also, it doesn't mean it's a slam dunk Tutu Atwell as wide receiver 3. Jordan Whittington is in that mix, and I think all 4 of those guys are going to play. I think there's some form of a mix between Whittington and Tutu, and of course they both have, specifically Whittington, a little bit more contingent value if something were to happen to Puka Nacua or Devontae Adams. Are you clicking Samson over Scadaboo at this point, even if their ADP is 3 rounds incorrectly apart? Yes, I am. Dylan Sampson is a better pick to me than Cam Scadaboo right now. I think Cam Scadaboo was a better pick at the beginning of the summer, and things have changed. And we need to react to new information as we get it. And don't worry about ADP. You are a true savage for streaming a 555. We're going to hopefully get a couple more of those streams in. Yeah, somebody talked about, can't wait to hear a breakdown of the Commanders' backfield. Definitely burying one of the leads. So I'm sure you saw Ravens versus Commanders. Jakobi Meyers, a.k.a. JCM, a.k.a. Bill, did not play in this game. And in this game, the Commanders sat out most of their key players. For instance, Jalen Lane, it was notable because he did not play. He rested as well. However, as you see if you're watching this on YouTube and you see the bullet point for me under this game, people did not do and I mean, social media is the devil, and everybody rushes to get out there to try to get the engagement farm. Let's talk about Bill because he's been a very popular person to talk about. So all the Twitter accounts run out there to go say, oh my God. And RotoWire did it, right? There's a blurb, I'm sure, under, they outsource their blurbs to RotoWire, Underdog, and DraftKings and whatever. And everywhere you'll see, this is really bullish for Jakobi Meyers because he didn't play in the preseason game and Chris Rodriguez did. That means he's going to be the starter. But what people failed to do, you can spend a couple of minutes researching and you can find that he's been dealing with a shoulder injury. He's been wearing a non-contact jersey in practice. So if he can't take contact in practice, why in the fuck would he play in a preseason game when they're getting ready they just traded Brian Robinson? The guy hasn't hurt shoulder. Of course he's not playing in the preseason game. Now, does it mean that C-Rod is the starter? No, it doesn't. It does not mean that C-Rod is the starter. But does it mean that Bill is the starter? No, it doesn't. And so people ran with this too quickly without doing the appropriate research. And so nothing has changed. Bill could get the first carry week 1, and I would not be surprised. But also Chris Rodriguez could get the first carry in week 1, and I would not be surprised. So nothing has changed in this backfield. We all need to take a breath including myself, about the whole Commanders stuff. GM Dylan, welcome. Harvey, Joe's running back 3. Love it. Love it very much. All right, Bears Chiefs. I said we would move quicker today, and we're just, you guys know me. Bears Chiefs. The most notable thing for me, well, 2 things, but one is I think the Chiefs are fun again. Mahomes out there letting it rip. They're slinging it around. The whole Chiefs kind of vengeance tour after finally losing a Super Bowl, adding all these talented weapons. Jalen Royals is not even playing yet with some knee tendonitis, which is supposedly not a big deal. Did not put this down here, but if you have Jalen Royals bags like I do, it's not over. He's supposedly fine. We'll see about that, but he's supposedly fine. Chiefs look fun. I'm rectifying my kind of low level of exposure to Patrick Mahomes. And the nice thing about Mahomes is I can backstack him with Jalen Royals. You don't have to force Worthy. You don't have to force Rice. You don't have to force Kelsey. I think they're all fine picks, but you don't have to force it either. You can take Hollywood if you love to triple condiment, right? If you're a big triple condom fan, go for Hollywood, cool. But there's some other sexier options. One of those sexier options, I think, is honest to God Tyquan Thornton. They've made comps. So if you guys recall, a real thorn in the Dario Gumbawale of the Chiefs wide receiver room for multiple seasons now has been Justin Watson. He runs a lot of snaps. He plays a lot of snaps and he runs a lot of routes. He's just fucking useless. All he does is hurt Worthy and Rice and these other guys. Well, the comps that all the people around the Chiefs have been making for Tyquan Thornton is that he's made the team. He's been one of the most impressive players in Chiefs camp, which is insane to say. But a 4.240 former second round pick in Tyquan Thornton, with Patrick Mahomes on this vengeance tour, playing a good amount of snaps because he's the new Justin Watson, I'm dabbling in those waters. I understand if you're like, oh, come on, this thing is crazy. But again, this is another player like Chris Rodriguez, like Chris Brooks, like Ollie Gordon, like Bill, like these guys who pop up later in the summer that are just like undrafted in these tournaments. And what do you win if that guy is a thing when no one has him? Is you show up to the Best Ball Mania finals, you show up to the DraftKings Millie finals, you draft him on drafters, and you get to extrapolate that edge over 17 weeks when he's like 5% owned in the whole tournament. And like, what if he's actually a hit and you got a guy running a lot of routes for Patrick Mahomes with 4.2 speed in the last round while other people are paying the 4th round price for Xavier Worthy? I don't know. That the what do you win when you win type situation on Tyquan Thornton feels pretty good to me. So I'm not, this isn't like I'm not flag planting this guy, but I think it's notable. I think it's fairly real. What's also real to me is kind of how they deployed the backfield. Pacheco is RB1, Hunt is RB2, and Brashad. I know everybody wants to make Brashard Smith into Jerick McKinnon. He's not that. Stop. Athletic, talented pass catching black running back is not on the Chiefs is not guaranteed to be Jerick McKinnon. Just like any white slot receiver is not Julian Edelman, Brashard Smith does not automatically become Jerick McKinnon. They're wildly different players, as a matter of fact. Jerick McKinnon was built like a brick shithouse. He was like 5'9", 220, and one of the best pass protectors in the NFL. And was a former, like, really good actual running back before Father Time caught up with him. Brashard Smith is a converted wide receiver who played 1 year of running back at SMU, is very small, 190, 195 pounds. Like, he's a weapon. I think he's going to be a useful and fun weapon for the Kansas City Chiefs, but he's not Jerick McKinnon. He's not taking a Jerick McKinnon role on this offense. There is no Jerick McKinnon on this offense. That's what Pacheco and Hunt are there to do, to be the reliable veterans and play in those facets of the game. But that's fine for Brashard Smith. We got to stop trying to make him Jerick McKinnon. Let's see. Better 2025 fantasy season, Bill or Sampson? Give me Sampson. Luther Burden. I see you, Dylan. Luther Burden. Perfect timing because the Titans are up next. Luther Burden continues to be a backup to Zacchaeus. He played into the second half of this game. That's definitely concerning, but I think he needs the reps. I'm not changing my tune. Luther Burden, just not an early season play. He did play 1 snap with the starters. Burden did. Colston Loveland getting that Dalton Kincaid / Brock Bowers treatment, splitting snaps with Cole Kmet with the starters, and Swift. Now, of course, no Kyle Monangai, no Roshan Johnson, no Travis Homer in this game. It was just Britton Brown. Was it Britton Brown or British Brooks? I get British Brooks and Britton Brown confused. I can't remember which one is on the Bears. Sorry, British / Britain. But you can understand why I get those guys confused. Whichever one was the only other running back on the Bears. And so DeAndre Swift played basically all the snaps with the starters. Titans, Vikings. As Dylan says here, Tyjae Spears goes to IR. He's still been in a walking boot. He, of course, has a high ankle sprain. So Tyjae Spears will miss the first 4 weeks of the season for the Titans. Probably about expected. We didn't really expect him for the first, it's certainly at least 2 or 3 weeks. So what's the difference between 4 weeks? Heal up Tyjae Spears. I think also drafted him last night on that 555. I actually think Tyjae is a pretty good click now at these like insane new prices. If you're drafting, right, he's going in like the 170s, 180s. If you're drafting a guy in the 180s and you needed him for the first month, I think you probably should have structured your team a little bit better. So, if you believe in Tyjae Spears, we're getting a nice little price on him now, I think. What round did you? I'm not changing too much about Pollard. I think he's still like a 6th rounder for me, but a 6th rounder, right? So in the 60s, somewhere in the 60s, between 60 and 70 is where Tony Pollard goes. Oh no. Pour one out, as B. Kurt says, for Jay Kaner and my Saints franchise. Jay Kaner was cut. I think that writing was definitely on the wall for Rattler and what's his name? Shuck to be the quarterbacks there. But RIP to my Madden franchise, Jake Hayner. I'm most notably the most successful Jake Hayner coach ever. Is Jalen Lane worth a last round pick? Absolutely. Jalen Lane is worth a last round pick. 100% worth a last round pick. Little bit less exciting with Terry back, but I think he might end up just being the wide receiver 3 or work his way into that role as the wide receiver 3 amongst those guys. Noah Brown still isn't back yet, but I mean, Jalen Lane got real draft capital. They really like him. It's a good offense. Go for it. When are they going to announce the starter? And it better be Shuck. Well, I hate to disappoint you, but it sounds like it's going to be a Rattler. They have not announced it though. KJ Osborne was waived. Audio mentions in reference to the Jalen Lane stuff. Consigliere, shout out Consigliere, Kalel Mullings bags. So the problem for the Kalel Mullings bags is I think he's behind Julius Chestnut and has operated as such so far. I did not put that one in here, but last week that was the case, and it continued to be the case this week. Doesn't mean, I think Mullings is better at football than Julius Chestnut, but Chestnut has the old veteran experience over him thus far. So I am not sure that Mullings is going to be a thing while Tyjae Spears is out, but we'll see. I'm hoping so. I like Mullings as a football player. Alec Iomanner was wide receiver 1 without Calvin Ridley. Obviously, Calvin Ridley steps in and does Iomanner go back to the bench behind Van Jefferson? We just need him to beat out Van Jefferson, but I feel like that's a pretty good runaway to snaps. He could beat out Tyler Lockett, who has been in the slot only and is frankly being the corpse that we all kind of thought Tyler Lockett would be. And other 4th-round rookie Chimere Dike of the Tennessee Titans did mix in just a couple of snaps with the starters away from Van Jefferson came off the field and Dike came in. And it was notable because, as Nate Yonke pointed it out, because Dike was in entirely a slot receiver. The thought was he would have to just take Lockett's job. Iomanner would have to take Van Jefferson's job. And I feel fine about those two things happening. But if DK is able to move around the formation just at least a little bit, that's good. So Iomanner has been playing well, however, with the Titans ones in the preseason, and I'm very excited for him. He's definitely my priority here. Though, as you mentioned here, I would be remiss if I didn't say that basically all of the preseason, Chiga Okonkwo has played every snap with the starters, damn near. So that's get the quarterback upgrade and possible upgrade on number of routes for Chiga Okonkwo. He could be a really sneaky late round tight end pick. Osborne back to Minnesota. Yeah, I think it's definitely that would be in the cards. Why would it be Rattler? Shuck look way better, and the GM went on ESPN instead. It would be Shuck. Well, because Rattler started with the starters. Shuck looked better because he gets to play against the backups. I don't think Shuck looked better over the course of the preseason. And the GM, whatever, the GM's not the coach. Kellen Moore will make that decision. I'm not saying it won't be Shuck. I'm just saying Rattler if we're going to take all, they came into the game, they played their starters. They played their ones. And who was the quarterback with the starters? Was Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler has operated ahead of Tyler Shuck up until this point, and he operated ahead of Tyler Shuck in this game. So did Shuck outplay him? I don't know. Not necessarily. I'm just saying I would not feel guaranteed that Tyler Shuck is going to be the starter, because that has not been how it has been played out all during camp and all during the preseason. So we shall see. Maybe the GM will get his wish. Falcons, Cowboys. Let's see. Hey, it's still a positive. Thanks for absolutely crushing my spirit. I needed that for my hopium. It's still a positive turn of events for Kalel Mullings. It's just, the truth is the truth, unfortunately. Trust me, I have some big board Kalel Mullings. Falcons, Cowboys. Jaden Blue was back and got to play in this game, though Deuce Vaughn started. Jaden Blue came in after Deuce Vaughn and played well into the game and hurt his ankle, though it does not seem to be serious. He should be, I believe he was back at practice yesterday. So Jaden Blue should be fine. The more concerning thing for Jaden Blue is just his ranking in the pecking order amongst Phil Maffa going to IR, certainly good for Jaden Blue, but Javonte, similar to our Ram stuff, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, doesn't mean that a Jaden Blue or a Miles Sanders or whoever, Phil Maffa, when he comes back, can't take over this backfield. They absolutely can. But Javonte Williams did not play a single snap in the entire preseason. He rested with Dak and CD and Pickens and Ferguson, right? And these other guys played. Maffa was playing full games. Jaden Blue, when healthy, was playing deep into the second half of preseason games. Miles Sanders played last week in their preseason game before sitting out today. So I think the expectation should be week 1 that Javonte Williams is a starting running back on the Cowboys. What does it look like in week 12? That I don't know. Falcons, of course, were doing what they do and resting absolutely everyone. Eagles and Jets also rested absolutely everyone. Pour one out for Malachi Corley, RP. Giants, Patriots, really not much other than Cam Scadaboo returned. And I don't think that, what the hell is this down here? And I don't think that anything like super crazy to draw from Cam Scadaboo returning. He returned. He's back. I don't know. Not much, I think, to worry about there. Tyrone Tracy is the starting running back for the New York Giants. Let's see here. Just double checking my notes. My other notes. Jaylen Warren, last, but certainly not least, the good old Pittsburgh Steelers, the Carolina Panthers rested everyone. Nothing much to draw from their action in this final preseason game. The Steelers, though, Jaylen Warren started, Kenny Gainwell played third downs, and then Caleb Johnson came in after those guys were done. So I think the hope continues to be, if you drafted Caleb Johnson, that he takes over the early down work over the course of the season. But I think Jaylen Warren gets the early down work to start, and it's probably quite bullish for him because he is a good passing down player, though they seem to really like Kenny Gainwell as like the tried and true third down back. So, which is weird because they also loved Jaylen Warren in that role. Warren did put the ball on the turf. I don't think that matters, but I think all the other stuff does, but it's not nothing. I think Caleb Johnson is a better runner than he is. Arian Smith, hype it all. You'll have to forgive me if I don't love Arian Smith. However, it's been a pretty good run out. Alan Lazard has been hurt. Malachi Corley got cut. Xavier Gipson, I believe, has been banged up in camp as well. So, rookie out of Georgia who couldn't catch a cold, right? He's the walking gif of the girl trying to catch the ball and it smoking her right in the face. Was Arian Smith's college career, but he's been popping a little bit in camp and he's a big play threat. I don't think it's unrealistic to add him into the mix in the last round of your drafts. Honestly, I think that is a reasonable way to think about it. All right. Let's pop over to our good friends at DraftKings.com and get into a DraftKings Millie Maker draft. As you'll see, I am on the clock in several. Speaking of the 555, I am on the clock in some of those slows, but we got a couple hours before that. Let's get into the Millie Maker because I am behind pace. And one I wanted to shout out, if you see here in this Millie Maker, we're up to, so it'll be over 720,000 entries by end of day today for sure. Oh, God damn it. I need 11 of you guys, of course. Of course, it's going to be a straight friends and family draft here. God damn it. This is almost as disappointing as auto drafting Darren Waller in a 555 draft. I think I'm just going to have to draft Darren Waller moving forward. Just make him a core part of the portfolio. Just really lean into this. But the unbelievable. I just re-triggered myself over Darren Waller. But anyway, this is, like I said, filling quickly. All of the DraftKings tournaments are filling quickly. I would not be shocked if the 555 fills this weekend, and I would not be shocked if the Millie Maker fills like early next week. So if these tournaments are a priority to you, I would get in there. Let's see. League mate wants Ladd McConkey for Calvin Ridley and Chuba Hubbard. I have Mike Evans, Matthew Golden, and Cooper Kupp with Gibbs, Harvey, Pollard, and Scadaboo at running back. I think I need to keep Ladd, but my RB2 is Harvey. I'm cool with RB2 Harvey for sure. I don't think Chuba Hubbard is even really any better than RB2 RJ Harvey. Chuba Hubbard is going to split the backfield with Rico Dowdle. RJ Harvey is going to split a more powerful and high upside backfield with J.K. Dobbins. That seems fine to me. The problem for me is I don't know if this is a redraft keeper dynasty league. I would not really want to give up Ladd McConkey. I wouldn't really want to give up Ladd for Ridley and Chuba. I just don't really particularly care for it. Certainly not in redraft. Chuba Hubbard. We won our money with Chuba last year. I think Calvin Ridley is fine, but I would want something different for me than Chuba Hubbard there. Because I think dude, especially Pollard without Tyjae Spears to start the year, you're golden. You're golden at running back. With Pollard, Gibbs, Pollard, Harvey, I would be completely happy with that running back room. If you want to upgrade wide receiver, I would try to upgrade wide receiver, not necessarily sell Ladd, if that makes sense. Looks like we got Davis in here. That's funny. Davis, Kai, probably a bunch of you. Sizzle. I think Dave is one of the sickos out here. But this draft is probably not going to be my favorite. See, Dave right next to me. Dylan's at the 10. This is not good. Davis 101. Kai in here. The best ball gods are punishing me for making a silly pick last evening, live and in public. Waller could resurrect himself week 17 versus Tampa. Remember the game he has at a Raider versus the Finns, 200 yards. I do remember many moons ago. I was a lot younger. So was Darren Waller the last time he was doing stuff in fantasy. I don't think the concern is the matchup in week 17 or the potential opportunity that he has with the Dolphins. I think the concern is that Darren Waller was last seen doing low-level fake-ass like strongman competitions and finishing like last. Notably, Underdog's Hayden Winks' brother was beating Darren Waller in one of these like fitness challenges. That doesn't seem great. If I need an NFL tight end to score a bunch of fantasy points and a fantasy football tout's brother is dunking on him in a fitness challenge, not awesome. And certainly not awesome from a week 7. That doesn't reek of late season upside. Yeah. His awful hip hop career. Ay. Yeah, this draft is going to suck. This tournament is probably going to end with the most difficult rooms as pros chase overlay. That is an interesting idea, and that has not been my experience over the course of at least the last couple days. The last couple days have been great rooms, and I'm going to try to hammer a bunch of these over the course of the next couple days so that I can get out ahead. I don't want to be like having to hammer a bunch of these drafts before, like this weekend is going to be a hectic one, and I don't want to have to be like drafting while I'm doing real life stuff. So I'm sorry, Ashton Genty, but I'm going to take Puka Nacua. Like Matthew Stafford, Puka, I only have, wow. Okay, this is ridiculous. Only 6% of my Puka teams have BTJ. That seems bad. So let's go Puka Brian Thomas. That's funny. I'm rooting for anybody who has had dark times, drugs, alcohol, mental health, right? Whatever, gone through tragedy, whatever. I'm totally down to root for that person. So I will happily root for Darren Waller. We've all had down, dark times. I have. You guys probably have. You never know what other people are going through. I'm bad at it. I always try to remind myself of that. Like when you're interacting with people on the internet, right? Like I interact with people in YouTube chat every day. I interact with people in Discord every day. I interact with people in the YouTube comments every day. And plenty of those people, quite frankly, are not very pleasant to deal with. Plenty, that's not the right word. But there are some people that you run into, right? When you're doing silly fantasy football streams of people that just come and they just want to be negative and they want to tell you you're stupid. They want to try to make themselves feel better by by bringing someone else down. Maybe they just don't like you and they don't like your content, or they didn't agree with your comment, right? You're in the chat and they're in the chat and they think your comment was stupid, and they'll just like go on the attack for you or whatever. Like you never really know what that other person is going through. Life may be rough, and I've had my own down times. So Darren Waller has had his, and it cost him a marriage, and it probably cost him a lot of money, and it probably cost him some years of his life. So if he can bounce back and turn things around, I fully support that. He already has kind of bounced back once in his life. Can he do it again? I'd be down. I'd be totally down to see that happen. That's hilarious. The 105 takes Amon-Ra St. Brown and Joe Burrow in the second. So if Joe Burrow, our good friend Davis is drafting out of the 101, if he is was hoping for that stack, he takes Chase and T, which is totally fine without Burrow. But if he was hoping for the Burrow stack, obviously not going to happen. Carson Steele cut. So Eli Mitchell makes the team over Carson Steele. And Brashard Smith obviously makes the team over Carson Steele, at least so far. Nice. You should do a Spike Week Membies only and talk how to attack heavy overlay tournaments. It's so rare that it's 100% overlay. So I'm working on something to get in a weekly members only show. We'll see if I can get it done for this week. That remains to be seen. But I know I want to do it for in season. But it's a great shout. I agree. Getting some, I'm just a little behind. We're literally trying to like stream every day and draft every day. And we got other videos I got to get out there, from the 555 series to some sports betting stuff to more DFS stuff to all sorts of stuff. So I just haven't been able to get around to that. But I agree with your idea. And it's not necessarily that exact idea, but something along those lines is in the works for sure. Oh man. Let's see. Trey McBride, Tyreek Hill, JSN, Kyron Williams, Travion. God damn. Remember? I remember. Everybody else remember the old Travion Henderson price? That was so fun. Goodbye, sweet prince. My exposure to Travion is going to continue. That number is going to keep going down, 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 down. Just too bad. Yep. Ian says Spears. Yep. Tajay on IR. Yep. Don't think it changes too much. I think that's close, right? Whether he was going to miss 2 or 3 or 4 games, you weren't going to have him for the first X amount of games of the season anyway. So it's fine. So there goes Hampton. Okay. So when I have not gotten this team very much, but when I did do it, 2/3 of the time I took Marvin Harrison. So maybe let's not take Marvin. Maybe let's not take Marv. I never did Hurts. How about Worthy? Possibly set up the Mahomes thing. How about Worthy and J-Mo on this? Do something a little bit different. Took Spears at 170 yesterday. Still seems good. I agree. Totally. I missed that price, but it's okay. I'm still at 30% Travion, says Martin. Hell yes, brother. I missed the price as well, but I'm also probably not quite 30, 25. I think like maybe 25% Travion. So that's obviously going to fall to like 15 or something by lock on DraftKings, but that's okay. We got our money in good. Now we let it ride. Tesla or Horton on DraftKings? Horton for me. Definitely Horton. I like Tesla a little bit more, but Horton. I just think Horton has the like, oh my God, this is like one of the big dogs on this offense type thing, as opposed to like just, I think Tesla might be good, but like there is just no path. Like, look at this offense. It is definitely going to be built around Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Sam Laporta. He may benefit from the fact that they're all awesome and take over for Tim Patrick, but we're getting kind of Tim Patrick on steroids, which is a good pick. He's a very good pick. And there's certainly some contingent value and all that kind of stuff. But like Torrey Horton could just come in and like, it's not going to take over from JSN, but he could just become the Jameson Williams on the team, like without anything happening. Dylan out of the 10 going 0 wide receiver, even harder 0 wide receiver than the 0 RB bros really love. CMC, Brock Bowers, Lamar Jackson, James Cook. I'll be interested to see how that one turns out. Sizzle, on the other hand, takes the Marv fall, gets a nice Nico Ladd, Kittle, MHJ start. It's so funny still having so many drafts left to do. I try to keep reminding myself of, so I finished Best Ball Mania, but I still have 50 more of these millies to do. And I think I'm going to try to hammer most of them over the course of the next couple of days. And I still have like 45 or something drafters to do, but that's really all I have left. So that's, let's call it 10 a day, but I can do I'm on a much better pace. Last year at the very end, holy shit, it sucked. I'm like multi-tabling 5, 6, 7 drafts at a time for hours to catch up. I was way behind pace last year. I feel much better about this because, like I said, I can just get ahead of pace in 2 days on this. And then there's like maybe 12 more 5-5-5 drafts. And like, so let's call it 120. So like 12 drafts a day or something like that would be the average that I got to go through. But that's really, honestly, it's really not that bad. But the problem that I run into, that I imagine other people do too, right, is you have all your takes and all your guys you've been drafting all summer. And then now you have all these new guys, right? Tesla looks really good now. Sorry, someone said, oh, I thought we were getting something canceled or something. Trying to make sure, right? I obviously still love Will Shipley. I still love Tyler Algier. I still love Keaton Mitchell. I still love whoever. We still love all of these guys. And it's like, you have new things that you're excited about. Troy Franklin and Bill and Chris Rodriguez and Ollie Gordon. And these different guys have emerged now. And so, but making sure you don't like only draft. I don't want to only have certain guys on May teams and only have other guys on August teams, trying to like blend. This is the most difficult part of this part of the draft cycle, is like, well, I know I want to get exposure to Ollie Gordon, but I don't want to only get I don't want to never have Will Shipley on the Ollie Gordon team. I don't want to never have Keaton Mitchell on the, I don't want them to like replace each other. I want them to work in tandem, at least somewhat, That's been my biggest hurdle at this time of year. These people who take 2 quarterbacks in the first 8 rounds is stunning to me. Yeah, it's not for me. Burrow round 2, Hurts round 4 is not for me. Let's see here. Up into, what's Mahomes ADP up to? 73. I got to decide. So Pearsall and Zay. I know who Dave is going to take here, and I'm not going to be happy about it. Yep. Devontae goes. Oops. I think I'm going to do this Mahomes double tap and take Rasheed. I don't have much. You see, I don't have much with these guys because I've been really backed off of Rice, but I'm going to go get the Mahomes double here. Rice, Mahomes obviously have Worthy so far. Is there best ball basement tonight? Yes, there is. 7 p.m. Eastern. Myself and Rob Coke will be back with the best ball basement. Obviously, we had a little scheduling conflict last night, and so we are doing it tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Obviously, in case you did not see it, we replaced the basement last night with a 5. I did a DraftKings 5-5-5 draft here on the channel, and that's up on. When we're done here, head over. You can watch. I drafted a 5-5-5 team, which I thought was a really good team until I fucked it all up by auto picking Darren Waller like a real noob. And but it was fun. It was a ton of fun. Try to get a couple more of the 5-5-5s in. Of course, we'll keep the best ball basement going and be back tomorrow and Thursday and Friday. We're streaming pretty much every single day leading up to the season. My biggest hurdle was deciding between this is a truly elite joke that is so niche. This is like the inside joke of all inside jokes. This is how we know we are really doing too much best ball stuff. That is outstanding. Very well played, Dylan. Seahawks fans have been drafting Horton. Seahawks fan. Oh, Bree is a Seahawks fan, been drafting Horton almost up to 40%. I love it. I absolutely love it. They've been talking him up all offseason, 100%. Dare I say the Seahawks defensive backs called him Jerry Rice Jr., which as really a double kick in the nuts for Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice's actual son, who, of course, no one calls Jerry Rice Jr. I know his name is Brendan, but nobody thinks he's even remotely as good as his dad, and he just got cut yesterday. Brendan Rice did. My favorite are the guys that go Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels in the first. Yeah, treat it like a super flex draft. DraftKings is a beauty, man. The types of drafters that you'll see in some rooms are it's just wild. Absolutely wild. Has the cutting of Tommy Cutlets changed the overall QB landscape in significant ways? The QB landscape is much less cool. The vibes are way down. NFL QB vibes way down. Are the overall, is the overall play performance level down? That seems unlikely. But Tommy DeVito will always have I know he has there's a soft spot in Giants fans' hearts for Tommy Cutlets. But really, if you've just been a football fan, a fantasy football fan, Tommy DeVito was that was fun. Shout out to Tommy DeVito. Jason says Horton was just a no-brainer click all along. I'm with you. We've been banging the Horton drum for a while. Las Vegas should punish Jakobi and trade him to the Raiders. Oh, wait. The Giants have a nice QB room for fantasy now. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Russ, Dart, Jameis. Spoiler, I think you can just draft Malik Neighbors. Think about Malik Neighbors. Year 2, taking a year, getting better. What you saw last year from Malik Neighbors, think about someone who's better at football than that. And now there's the floor of quarterback play is Jameis Winston. That's the floor of quarterback play is Jameis Winston. What if Dart is good? Russ is fine. Russ is not exciting, but Russ is fine. to have as your quarterback from a fantasy sense, especially like throwing his moon balls down there to Malik Neighbors. Man. Okay. We definitely got ourselves a 0 RB bro room here. I don't hate Tyler Warren here, actually. Plays Brian Thomas Jr. in the finals. And then I'm going to buy this Juwan dip here. This is a real 0 RB bro draft. Through 8 rounds, so 12 to go. Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy, Jameson Williams. Took Rashee Rice and Patrick Mahomes to build out a little Chiefs thing. I'm in on the Chiefs passing game. You don't have to draft Worthy and Rice to draft Mahomes. I feel very confident about that. You don't have to draft Travis Kelce with Patrick Mahomes, but you can. You have a bunch of options. You can take Hollywood later, as I mentioned. If you're a big fan of the triple condom act, go for it. Take Hollywood, but you can also take Jalen Royals and Tyquan Thornton later. I like those guys. But Patrick Mahomes, Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is a fun little. Of course, he pairs with BTJ on this team from a Week 17 perspective. But when I don't get an elite tight end, I do like Tyler Warren. The price has kind of gotten away from me here. This got away from me. That type of a situation has certainly happened. I'm not going to be like overweight Tyler Warren on DraftKings, going like in the 70s now. Quite crazy, but nonetheless, if I can make it work and I miss out on the elite tight ends, having him as like a try to manufacture the late tight end or the elite tight end upside, getting a first round pick to, the Josh Downs is probably returning to practice this week, it sounds like, but can Tyler Warren kind of become the focal point of that passing game? I absolutely think so. He's not going to be Brock Bowers, probably because he's going to play all the snaps, not split snaps with fucking Michael Mayer. Yeah, I don't understand why Warren went way up and Loveland. So Loveland just has some small concerns about the overall, amount of routes he's going to run. Aren't you worried? I'm not worried. I still really, really like Colston Loveland, but it was like Tyler Warren just had a good preseason and people just went nuts. I'm not sure if it's the Daniel Jones starting news. I'm not sure if it's the fact that Tyler Warren was just really good during the preseason. I'm not sure if it's a combination of all that. I'm not sure if the people just really love Tyler fucking Warren. I am. It's unclear to me, but I think the rise is a little bit confusing for sure. At least the rise is maybe not so confusing. He was going much cheap, right? Remember, he was going much cheaper for a lot of the summer. So the rise is not that surprising. The extent of the rise feels very surprising. Up into the 70s on DraftKings, good God, man. So that's why I'll take him at 84 with the wide receivers kind of having dried up there. Bingo. You nailed it. Let's see. Up into Bill gone, Dobbins gone. Oh man, Keon at 105. Downs gone. God damn it. I can do Goff with JMO. I could do the double rookie tight end thing with Loveland. I can do Shaheed. I have 33% though on these teams. I don't hate this Goff. I don't hate the Goff idea. All right, so I know I'm gonna do Goff. Let's try to figure out this other click here. That'll make us 2061. God damn it. The best pick is probably Loveland, but I don't really want to do it. Let's get crazy. Let's get crazy. I know it's like way early, but I there's just really no one that I particularly love there. And we're gonna go. It's GYG SZN. Yep, just go get them. When you're sitting there deliberating, like I was, I'm like, we can do Shaheed. Is fine. Loveland is fine. This guy is fine. You have other guys you want, right? The Loveland thing is like, well, I would really just like to get Harold Fannin later. Those other running backs I don't like, Javonte Williams and whatever. Like they're fine. The wide receivers are fine. I'm not taking another quarterback. So it's like, do you believe, my favorite phrase, do you believe in this thing or not? Put them on the table. Put those puppies on the table and go for it. Go get your guy. It's not, he may not have come back in this room with all you fuckers. I don't think he would have come back. My next pick is pick 132. I know his ADP is 150. He wasn't going at 150 in this draft. Didn't you do this yesterday too? I definitely pulled him up, not to 109, but I definitely pulled him up yesterday, and I will continue to do so. I also think he's not like needed on this team. Like it's not over if I don't have Dylan Sampson on this team. We're talking about an extreme zero running back team that doesn't have a running back yet through 9 rounds. The combination that he provides is so powerful of a week 1 starter, especially against the Cincinnati Bengals, and the just like overall season upside of a rookie who is a week 1 starter and was a 4th round pick. Yeah, exactly. There's no way that with Dylan, with Sizzle, with the folks in this draft, there's just absolutely no way he was coming back to me at 132 or whatever. So whatever. When are you and Rob going to remix your hip hop show and finally show love for the West Coast? Yeah, I'm not like I love Tupac, Dre, obviously. Like Dr. Dre has one of the greatest albums of all time, multiple, frankly. I very much like some of the West Coast, but I'm definitely not. I would say I'm much more Midwest, East Coast, South hip hop in terms of the most of the stuff that I like. I'm as always biased to St. Louis, of course, but I would say, obviously Lil Wayne from the South, Eminem from the Midwest. Those are my 2 favorite artists ever. So a little bit biased to those regions. Yeah, see, exactly. Yeah, Dylan's got to stick together. Kendrick, for sure. Absolutely. This scrolly bar for DraftKings, it really keeps triggering me. Okay, Ramondre goes. All right, see, so I'm going to put Tank in the queue. Tank is an awesome fit on this team, as is Trey Benson, an awesome fit on this team. Guys with the combination of contingent value plus an early season role, particularly Tank, but I think Benson will get some touches as well. Just a kind of a perfect fit. Trey, just also the visions of having Trey Benson in week 17, and let's say James Conner just happens to be banged up at that point in time. Having Trey Benson on a 0 RB team against the Cincinnati Bengals in week 17 feels fun. Boom. Thank you. I know this was my fault. This is my fault. Shout out to the folks at Drafters. It was my fault with the last 2 weeks of tickets, but it sounds like they should be hitting everyone's accounts. So thank you for your patience. And again, if you're watching and you have not joined us before here at Spike Week, if you could hit thumbs up while we got several picks before it comes back around to us. And After this video is over, and of course you can do it on last night's video as well, the 555 draft. If you leave a comment on a video this week on Friday's show, which of course will be live every morning today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, I will be live. Come hang out. We have a ton of fun. We're going to draft a whole shitload of basketball teams this week, but on Friday we'll do our final kind of news recap, right? We'll have everything from cut day. We'll have everything from what has happened this week, roster moves. We'll have probably updates on the Jakobi Meyers stuff, updates on injuries and everything. We'll cover all of that on Friday. And on the Friday show, if you have left a comment on a video this week, you get entered into a free ticket giveaway for drafters. The good folks at Drafters have given me some free tickets to give away. And this Friday is the very final one. We'll give away 3 free tickets to the Drafters main event. That is, of course, the $20 tournament, $500,000 to first place over on drafters.com. Drop a comment on any of the videos. You can enter multiple times with multiple comments, obviously 1 per video. And you do not have to be present on Friday to win. We'll see if some other people besides Marie's won multiple, Corey's won multiple. We'll see if some other folks can not have Marie and Corey win tickets yet again, but we'll give away 3 more free tickets on Friday as that tournament looks set to overlay quite significantly over on Drafters. Yeah, exactly. Look at that. Great minds think alike. Did you say whether or not you're doing a Drafters? No, after this is over, we'll be done after this draft is over, but we'll be doing a bunch of Drafters. So obviously I'm pretty much done on Underdog. I mean, I have a bunch of eliminator slows and first quarter slows and all that kind of stuff, but I'm mostly done on Underdog. So we'll be doing a lot of Drafters and a lot of DraftKings leading up to the season. And I actually think, everybody should draft how they want to draft. If you don't like DraftKings or Drafters, if you want to save Underdog, I don't think that there's a right or wrong way to approach this. How I approached it, though, I wanted to get my Underdog stuff done kind of first. Not because I don't think it's advantageous to leave some, but specifically because the overlay is going to be, I know that it's going to exist on Drafters. And so we're going to get a bunch of people coming in overlay chasing. And so I would like to be in rooms against those guys. I also think it's really advantageous to have as much information as possible on Drafters to be able to siphon through some of those late round guys and siphon through what my opponents have done, like who's low owned, what percentage of my opponents' Jamar Chase teams have XYZ players, and be able to use that against them later in the summer on Drafters. And I can somewhat do that as well on the other sites, but it's much more powerful on Drafters because I'm competing against all 100,000 other teams in that tournament instead of just the small pods on the other sites. And then on DraftKings, I like to wait closer to the end because like this particular week, like all the kind of casual players start piling in, right? The people who are like, they're about to do their fantasy draft. This is when they wait until the preseason is over to do their best ball drafts. Those people start flocking in now. And I like to have some bullets to be able to go draft against those guys. I'm not trying to say that they're bad, but they're, whatever. You get it. At this point, should Judkins only be an 18th round dart throw? Yes, I think so. I would not. I don't even see him. I don't see him. Certainly don't see Mixon. Did Mixon go already? That's hilarious. See, another great reason to get in drafts right now. Joe Mixon still being drafted. People can't help themselves. The old Joe. Okay, Tajay goes. All right, so see, here's where I'm gonna do this. Ollie Gordon price is getting absolutely out of control, but I want to get some, and then I'm gonna make sure I get him as mentioned with Will Shipley. Also, obviously, you see I have 56% Will Shipley, but this nice big 0 over here. I don't have Will Shipley with this start. I don't have Puka plus Brian Thomas plus Will Shipley. So think about that. Think about how easy it is to have gaps in your portfolio. I've drafted 60% of this player, and I don't have him with those 2 players in the first 2 rounds. Isn't that crazy? It's so easy so like when we talk about all the combinatorial stuff, it probably falls on deaf ears sometimes, not you guys necessarily, but like some they're just like, come on, just draft the best players. It's like, Well, I am. Like, I think Will Shipley is the best pick on the board, and I have like almost 20% Puka Nacua and like 15% Brian Thomas, and I don't have them all three on the same team yet, despite hundreds of teams and three figures of Will Shipley teams, right? And thousands of US dollars on Will Shipley. I don't have those three together. So the combinatorial stuff really becomes powerful, not just from what our opponents are doing, which is what we often talk about here, because we're trying to be like, well, certain combos are never drafted together. That's really advantageous, but also just for your own portfolio, right? That's what the draft hacker can help you do, is see like, that seems bad. I have 60% Will Shipley, and I don't ever have any Puka Nacua plus Brian Thomas plus Will Shipley. When I love all three of them. That seems dumb. Do you actually have 60% Shipley? Yeah, that number is real. That's on there. All these exposures are on here. They're real. Everything on here. It's totally real. Let's find another players like let me find a high Diami. Yeah. So 40% Diami. Is Horton still available? No. I have a bunch of Horton. Royals probably. Let's see. 33% Jalen Royals. Yeah. My average pick on him. Let's see. Let me pull up the old draft IQ. I can share super quickly. Let's go over to DraftKings. Let's move my dome out of the way real quick. DraftKings, that's just the milli. Let me do all tournaments here. Sort by exposure. So 56% Will Shipley. My average ADP is 179. So up, about at his cost. But obviously, I reached to get him at certain times. Let's see. Shipley going 180 all summer is wild, says Hugh Hames. I agree. What does a man got to do besides be the extremely clear backup to Saquon Barkley, who also is probably going to catch some passes and also is probably going to play in some goddamn fourth quarters because the Eagles kick the shit out of some of these teams? Like, what the hell, man? Well, I truly don't. So like, why do you have 60%? I'm like, I don't know. He hasn't gone above 180. I have him ranked at like 125. Late round extreme exposures are fun and a fine way to play, says Shreth. I mean, I agree. Again, do you believe in this thing or not? Put the cojones on. If you really believe it, put them on the table. Have some fun. Okay. Chris Rodriguez feels very good on this team. I assume one of you assholes took Fannin, right? Yeah, of course. All right, let's take Chris Rodriguez, and then I'm gonna take Cade Otton, another guy who I probably need to get a little bit more of. Of course, goes with Ollie Gordon in that Week 17 game. Not sure that the old Cade Otton, Ollie Gordon. Let's move this to playoffs. So Tank, BTJ, Tyler Warren, Ollie Gordon, and Cade Otton. My only Week 17 correlation. I should have probably see. This is where the extreme zero running back, hurt me just a little bit, just because I was not fully boxed out, but like needing running backs more than needing to get into the Broncos wide receivers. I started talking about a running back and I sneezed. Elijah Moore and running backs. GM Benny, welcome. Who aims? I like flatter exposures, but still 17% Will Shipley. Everybody plays it differently. I don't expect everyone to take the exact same kind of big stance that I take. If 17 is a big percentage for you, that's great. I got 89% Keaton Mitchell from pre-draft, so a similar stance on going ham on a player you believe in who's super cheap. 80% says Shriath. You nailed it even quicker than I did, that's for sure, on Keaton. It took me until, a couple weeks of this summer draft cycle to get in on Keaton. You were way ahead of me. Bernie says, I really just want to find a cohort of 0% Shipleyers and talk best ball. I would love to pick the brain. No, as a matter of fact, I would love to be a fly on the wall. I don't know that I want to be in the conversation, because if someone has drafted 0% Shipley, I don't think they're just really generally probably going to like me as a person. You know what I mean? Like we're just oil and water. We weren't meant to be together, and that's okay. Not everyone is meant to be. Not everyone's going to enjoy my content. I'm not going to enjoy the opinions of those people. And, if you're 0% Will Shipley, you probably don't like fun that much. You're probably not great at parties if you have 0% Will Shipley. So I don't know that I want to be in the conversation. I wouldn't mind being a fly on the wall to listen to a group of 0% Shipleyers talk best ball strategy. There's no doubt in my mind that they fucking love Josh Reynolds. If you draft 0% Will Shipley, I bet you got bags of Josh Reynolds, man. Like, that feels like a lock to me. So, Wandale, Pop Douglas, Josh Reynolds, Michael Wilson, DeAndre Hopkins, right? You loved Van Jefferson once upon a time. You definitely loved 5th round Brandon Cooks when he was on the Houston Texans. Those guys are the 0% Will Shipleyers. So they would not like me. Yeah, they love Derrick Henry, and that's okay. Derrick Henry, Saquon, whatever. But we just have like very opposing viewpoints, and we've reached the point. I have no problem with anyone that disagrees. Like, I truly zero problem with anyone that disagrees. But not everybody's meant to be. And if you can't see it with Will Shipley, we're not meant to be. Okay, we are at 2 quarterbacks. We got our 2 tight ends, 6 running backs, and 6 wide receivers. This is definitely going to be an 8 running back team. I got to see if there's this would be a pretty good Brashard team, actually. Just goes full blown. Oh, hell yes. Franklin is still here. Oh my God. This team rocks. Why couldn't I draft this in the 555 last night? Okay. Through 18 rounds. Let's go over to the draft board. We got a big old Chiefs thing going. Yeah, you're crazy. I think Consigliere says, I still think AJ Dillon gets way more work than the Hopium. I don't know what that means. It's very vague. Like, what does way more work mean? I mean, no one expects Will Shipley to take every single touch of a backfield. Like, guess what? Saquon Barkley doesn't take every single touch. So yes, AJ Dillon is going to get the ball, but like, what does that mean? Right? Like, Dario Gumbawale gets the ball. Like, I don't really care about AJ Dillon. If Saquon goes down, he's going to play. Everybody plays multiple backs. Shipley's going to be the guy. And I think that they showed us that. So no problem with the general take. Okay. Puka Nacua out of the 112, Brian Thomas Jr. paired with him, pulled up Xavier Worthy and Jameson Williams. Pretty happy to have done that. We're building a big old, this has turned into a Chiefs go Burr draft here. Rashee Rice, Patrick Mahomes, obviously building out that Chiefs thing. Tyler Warren, Jawan Jennings, Jared Goff to go with Jameson Williams. And then, of course, we had not drafted a running back yet, so it's time to try to solve our running back crisis. Dylan Sampson, Tank Bigsby, Trey Benson, Ollie Gordon, Will Shipley, and Chris Rodriguez. I'm a big fan of that. Kate Otten, because, of course, someone already took Harold Fannin somewhere. Where did he go? Did he go? Oh my God. Sizzle took fuck you, Sizzle. Sizzle took at 153. I mean, that is where he should go, but God damn it. That's hilarious. And I didn't even notice. He went so early. I didn't even notice. This is how you know it's a Spike Week friends and family draft. Okay. We took Chris Rodriguez, Kate Otten. I do just like genuinely like Kate Otten. I think he pairs well also with like the rookie tight ends. I'm not concerned about early season for Tyler Warren, but if we want to talk ourselves into Kate Otten, I think that makes sense. Troy Franklin comes all the way back. I kind of just assumed Troy Franklin would have been gone in this room. That's just an absolute blessing. He's a smash. He's a smash on this team from a week 17 perspective, and I think he's just a smash overall. Brashard Smith looks like Brashard's going to make the team. And yes, Huhaim says Taekwon made the 53 on the Chiefs. If you don't think that that is something that I have in the back of my dome, then you are sadly mistaken. I don't know that it's going to work out for me, but we'll see. What in the hell is this? Tariq Owens, aka dogs heard Tariq Owens. What in the hell is that about? Somebody just posted that. Bernie posted that in the Discord as well earlier today. That this Tariq Owens. 1 second. Hey, Dogs got really fired up. Dogs got really fired up about Tariq Owens, and Dogs got really fired up about Taekwon making the 53, and of course, Bobby Trees getting cut. Eric, do you have a tool that tracks your Week 17 game exposures? Yes. So the tool that I pulled up earlier that showed you all of the exposures is we built a cool tool called Draft IQ. So of course, during your draft with the Draft Hacker, which is powered by the same browser extension, you can see over here, this is a drop down. I know when I click it, you can't see it on your end, but this is a drop down so you can see the Week 17 exposures during like your correlations during your draft. And of course, you can see on the schedule part here, right? You can see the week 15, 16, 17 matchups, and you can see, right, if you have someone correlated to someone in those matchups with the Draft Hacker. But then our Draft IQ tool has absolutely every possible permutation of seeing your week 17 correlations. As soon as I make these picks, I can pull it up to show you. But yeah, we built something that was actually the very first best ball tool that we built almost 5 years ago. It's called Draft IQ. It comes as a part of the Spike Week premium subscription. You can search for every individual lineup across all the different sites. You can look at your exposures across, right? Combine them, see all DraftKings, Underdog, drafters all together on one screen. You can see just like really every nook and cranny of your portfolio. I use it constantly during the season. Like, somebody pops off for a big game in week 2 or whatever, or week 6, like you're going in and I'm like, how do I find all my, Taekwon catches a long touchdown. Well, let's see all my Taekwon Thornton teams, right? I'm a big fan. Okay. I don't want to screw this up and take Darren Waller again. So if Dave takes Taekwon, we're going to be pissed, but I need one running back and one wide receiver here because we're at 2-7-7-2. Oh, this would be wonderful if Dave doesn't take Sean Tucker. God damn you, Dave. Dave takes Sean Tucker. Is Dameon Pierce available? Probably not. All right, let's do Taekwon Thornton. I really don't want to do Zamir, but no, sir. Chris Brooks. There we go. Chris Brooks. All right. Super quickly, let's run this team down because I do got to check what the hell just happened with my dogs. Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy, Jamison Williams, Rashee Rice, Patrick Mahomes. Nice little Chiefs stack. And that kept going. Tyler Warren, Jawan Jennings, Jared Goff, of course, stacked with Jamison Williams, Dylan Sampson, Tank Bigsby, Trey Benson, Ollie Gordon, Will Shipley, Chris Rodriguez, Kate Otten, tight end 2, Troy Franklin, of course, slam dunk wide receiver, late round pick, and Brashard Smith to go with that game and with the Chiefs stack. Taekwon Thornton, all in Chiefs, baby, all in Chiefs. And Chris Brooks, the backup running back on the Green Bay Packers. Kendre was okay. I do have to run here. I appreciate you guys joining me. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Actually, I'll see you guys tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, Best Ball Basement, myself and Rob Coakley. And I'll be back every day this week at 10 a.m. Eastern in the morning, drafting some more best ball teams. Make sure you drop a comment on this video to be entered into the free ticket giveaway on Friday. Of course, hit thumbs up on your way out. If you're not subscribed, click that button, and I will see you guys tonight. Cheers.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.